Start your engines. The Syracuse Nationals rolls into Syracuse, New York, July 18th through the 20th for its 25th anniversary. Experience the largest car show in the Northeast with over 7,000 vehicles. It's 3 days of hot rods, classic cars, live entertainment, and family fun. Mark your calendars and make the Syracuse Nationals part of your summer plans. Buy your tickets, register your ride, and get all the details at SyracuseNationals.com. Syracuse Nationals. It's worth the drive.
Fran Brown this, Fran Brown that.
If you want me to take a lie detector, Brian, I'll take it.
Portal watch this, Portal watch that.
The dog Marmaduke. People say I like that dog.
What are you talking about playing walk-on? Who do you think walked onto the team?
Anybody that thinks this is going to come back is either naive or plain stupid.
All across CNY.
Kick the tires and light the fires, Big Daddy.
It's the 315.
Hardy faking, feeds the Grace Jamison. Got it!
He scores!
Here's Brian Higgins.
Thursday. What's going on, people? Welcome in to Q's, Utica, Rome. Did it rain today? Check the box for yes. There is no option for no. What's up, Q Sports Doc? Maybe you're somewhere where it's not raining every day until the end of time. Get in the chat. Let us know if you're somewhere dry. I don't even care if it's warm or sunny. Just dry. What's out there? Get the Twitch. Get the YouTube. Come hang out for the next couple hours. We got a lot going on here on this Thursday. Kevin Sweeney, Sports Illustrated college basketball writer, will join us later this hour. We'll dive further in on this ACC ditching two conference games thing starting this year. Does Kevin have any ideas? What in the hell are the ACC's ideas? When, if ever, will they say the actual plan out loud? Do they have one? Is it lacking? It's lacking out loud thus far. We'll chat with Kev coming up in a half an hour or so. Lax next hour, Michael Grace, a Syracuse veteran transfer-in defenseman. He's won multiple national championships at RIT. Mike was drafted in the third round of the PLL draft the other night. And he's apparently the new, fun guy. He had this fun meeting with the team the other day where he told them all to have fun. Sounds threatening when you say it like that. So we'll ask Michael Grace about his fun attitude in regards to the College Lax playoffs, which officially for the Orange will get going Sunday, 5 o'clock, Dome. Sunday, 5 o'clock, Dome, Cuse, and Harvard. So Kevin Sweeney, Michael Grace are two guests here today. Besides that, the phone lines are open and available to you. 315-437-7644. You all know that. Give a ring whenever. Talk about whatever's on your mind. You want to talk Fran Brown? Fine, we'll talk Fran Brown. You want to talk Red Autry? We can talk Red Autry. You want to talk Lax? We can talk Lax. You got something else on your brain? We can do that as well. 315-437-7644 for ESPN 44. But welcome in here as we're off and running on this Thursday afternoon.
We start with the Burdick BMW opening drive.
That we do, and here we go, onward toward the football season still. Our official countdown to that will begin, I think it's 2 weeks from today. 3 weeks from today? It's an amount of weeks from today. I think it begins on a Thursday. Where do I have this? Let's reference the official document. Today is 2 weeks from today. Good God, that means we're 114 days from the season. That's far too. That is a ridiculous amount of time to count. So we won't start counting for 2 weeks. But let's get in with a little football that is vaguely related to this.
The portal is open.
Prepare ship for ludicrous speed.
Players on the move.
Scotty, beam us up fast.
Where are they going?
To infinity and beyond.
It's another edition of Portal Watch.
Ludicrous speed. Go!
All right, and this is a Portal Watch, all theaters saying Mark Petrie version, as we found out yesterday that Syracuse veteran veteran German offensive lineman, was going to miss the upcoming season. He had an MRI due to lingering right knee pain. And once they, did the eye part with the image and they looked at it, they said, dude, your ACL's torn. And due to the fact that it wasn't swelling or anything like that, it's not like he, boop, I tore my ACL. Apparently, he's had a torn ACL. They think he might have played the entire last season with a torn ACL. Regardless, this is two-pronged. Mark will not be playing football for Syracuse this year. The noted German was going to turn 27 years old during the upcoming season, which means that, yes, he is a full decade older than Demetrius Samuels, the young star potential two-way cornerback wide receiver that just turned 17 within the last month. But sad day for Petrie, who's earned many, many degrees during his time at Syracuse, wrapping up his master's right now in exercise science. He potentially was going to be in line as the starting center. He played a lot last year, was versatile around the line, not a center by trade, but at least in the last week or two of spring ball after Dave Willaba entered the transfer portal, that was the position that Petrie had been working at. So he's a fascinating story, kind of never had played football growing up. He was in Germany, played like 1 year of, I don't even know if high school's the right term, but like rando football in Germany, ended up at some, European to America scouting camp situation, ends up over here, goes to rando junior college, somehow noticed by Dino Babers and crew, brought in, and COVID and injuries and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this was about to be his seventh year in school, so he'll go through that and then get ready for pro day next year after the knee for him is hopefully healed. Either way, he's probably on his way to being a doctor or something with how much school that he's put in so far. Nice article by Chris Carlson earlier today on Petrie over on Syracuse.com. So that brings us here to today and how it relates to the portal and how it relates to Fran Brown and how it relates to the 2025 Syracuse football team. So we know this because we've discussed it at length ad nauseum here in the last couple of weeks. Fran Brown was not happy with volume, talent, whatever of his offensive linemen coming out of spring. How do we know this? Did he say that? No. Did his actions say that? Yes. When you bring in one lineman out of the spring portal, that says, oh, maybe you found a guy. Maybe you're like, wow, this guy's pretty good. Let's go get this guy and see what we got. When you bring in two linemen out of the transfer portal, especially in the spring, you're like, what's going on here? When you bring in on the same day a third and then a fourth lineman out of the transfer portal after spring football, then you say, I don't think he was satisfied with the current state of his offensive line that has seen most of the starters depart. I don't know if they knew about Petrie's knee issues then or not, but regardless, they knew they were going to have to add some more people to the offensive line pool. So first entered Austin Collins, and then he was followed by Cam Pringle, TJ Ferguson, and Zach Rice. Pringle, Ferguson, and Rice, all big-time recruits at one point that for one reason or another, youth, opportunity, whatever, they've not panned out yet at the Division I level. Austin Collins did start last year for Louisville. Which brings us back to Petrie. Regardless, Petrie was going to have to fight for a job because everyone on that line, I think, is going to be battling for playing time this year. I don't look at coming off last season, looking at who's back, looking at who performed last year, looking at what they just brought into the portal, looking at what they did in the portal back in December and January. I don't think there's a single soul on that offensive line that can feel confident in what their position is going to be this fall, especially not after adding four more people in this year. We've talked several times about offensive line coach Dale Williams, how he ranks all of the guys. He doesn't say you're left tackle 1, you're left tackle 2, you're right guard 1, you're right guard 2. No, he says you're offensive lineman 1, you're offensive lineman 2, you're offensive lineman 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, ... 18, 19, whatever they're at right now. So the main question that is currently arising for me about the Orange offensive line and one that was actually not a question going into last year, is who's going to be the starting center? That's a question we ask a lot in Portal Watch season about the basketball team. A lot of people are still asking it about the basketball team this year. Not all aboard the William Kyle train and what's going on with the size that Red has opted to bring in out of the portal. We've addressed that plenty. On the football team, the center, kind of important. The ones that give the ball to the quarterback, I've been told. We still don't know who the quarterback is, but it's not like when I'm looking at this group like, yes, you, the center. Because in spring ball this year, Dave Willaba, noted tackle by trade, had been working out at center and then entered the transfer portal. And then Mark Petrie, noted not center by trade, started working out at center, and now he's gone. All four of the guys they brought in out of the portal, TJ Ferguson, Zach Rice, Cam Pringle, Austin Collins, none of them are centers by trade. Will one of them become the center? I don't know. But it feels like the Dale Williams plan of attack is pick 5 guys and then make one of them into the center rather than pick a center and get him in the middle of the offensive line. DeAndre Reed had a really nice season at center last year for the Orange. Ended up with the extra year of eligibility because of the junior college rules. He's transferred to USC. Josh Aloa had been the center a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. He's run out of eligibility. So, like, guys who have played center here, that we've run out of that. The well is dry on guys that have played center here. Again, this is normally our basketball conversation. Who's going to be center? Should they target a center in the transfer portal? Well, we're going to find out which one of these guys can snap the football, and I think that person's going to be the center this year. That, I feel, offensive line, it's often hard to analyze it from our position other than, like, are you blocking? Like, we don't know blocking schemes or who was supposed to tag the defensive tackle or, all that guy slid in the wrong direction. We only know if there was a hole for the running back or if the quarterback's running for his life. It is sometimes hard to tell whom is to actually blame if things go wrong on the offensive line. And sometimes it is because the center is in charge of said communication and maybe is doing it great or doing it poorly or whatever. So I don't know. I think that's going to be a very interesting thing to watch as far as this training camp goes on and arrives, when we get to meet these guys, Rice and Pringle and Collins and Ferguson, and see if anyone grabs that. Will anyone gravitate toward that center spot on the offensive line? Could it be a name we haven't talked about? Because that's really what happened a lot during this spring ball. We're like, interesting. But as much as we talk about quarterback, as much as we like talking about quarterback, as much as we will continue talking about quarterback when it comes to Steve Angeli and Ricky Collins and the extremely important question of whom is going to start at quarterback when we arrive at August 30th down in Atlanta for Syracuse and Tennessee. And that will be handled in due time, and that will be handled certainly based on the way Fran generally handles things, very openly and very obviously. Like, he'll let us know. We'll know the deal on that. I don't doubt at all that Fran's going to tell us at some point who the starting quarterback is. And I don't think that we arrive at the opener playing, some shadow puppet game to confuse the Tennessee Vols. That just doesn't seem like that's Fran Brown's game of choice. The offensive line, though, all right, who's starting? I'm sure they'll tell us, but it's a lot harder for us out here to decipher, like, what's going on the line of scrimmage. So I think that'll be among the questions of training camp this year once we get to it. Quarterback will lead the way. But offensive line is probably the most legitimately important thing that's going to happen when we get to August. And then figuring out of that group who is most willing, able to become a center when for none of them it is necessarily position one of what they have been playing of late. So I think that's going to be really interesting. Dale Williams, best I can tell, that dude's an offensive line coach. Best I can tell, he did a really nice job last year. So I think you have to trust him to it, but we'll see where that goes as we get closer and closer to the football season. But, nothing actually happening in the portal today for football or basketball. You're starting to think shop about to be closed up on both of those things, if not already, or certainly if not already, and legit contributors to both teams. We'll see. There's still potentially a couple of scholarship spots remaining either way. We'll get to later here how many scholarship spots might be available. The House v. NCAA settlement, the money coming to players, and the roster limits. Things have been proposed to the judge. Nothing's been accepted yet. I think Fran Brown's going to be okay with having his current 103 Scully count going forward, 103 roster count, but we shall see as that all plays out in due time going forward. That will be our Burdick BMW opening drive for the day today. With that, let's get a check of the markets here on this here Thursday, and we have Lee Baldwin himself. Hey, Lee, how'd this Thursday go?
Hey, Brian. Well, stocks rallied today as the first potential trade deal with the UK was announced. Small caps led the way with the Russell 2000 up over 2%. And speaking of the UK, Brian, our diamond goes to Boeing, which is possibly in line to get a big order from the deal. The stock was up over 3%. And our dog belongs to Krispy Kreme. You love the symbol DNUT, down 67% this year to about $3 and something. That's about 25% of the cost of a dozen donuts. So,
all right, they need to get that hot sign back on, Lee. They're going the wrong way. They're going the wrong way. All right, thank you, Lee Baldwin.
Not hot.
Not hot right now.
Not hot.
There he is, our guy Lee Baldwin, with all the diamonds and none of the dogs. Thank you, Lee. Check them out and his whole crew at LeeBaldwin.com. LeeBaldwin.com. With that, we'll step aside for a few. Phone lines open for a bit next. 315-437-7644. Our guy Kevin Sweetie, Sports Illustrated, talking college hoops and this new ACC scheduling plan later on this hour. All that after we step aside here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. Woo! That first commercial in this break is comically loud compared to everything else. There you go, Kev. No. No. I mean, it's the dog. It's not. But didn't you say it was down like 60% of the year? Yeah, it's not doing well. Oh, man. We gotta go keep them in business. The problem is the one here went out of business years ago. Yeah, they opened one on Erie in like 05-ish maybe, and there were like lines out into traffic, and then it closed within like 4 years.
You ever had Dave's Hot Chicken?
I still have not been to the Dave's.
I went today. I didn't get any food.
You just went?
Okay, so Are
you a chicken voyeur?
No, I went. I got a haircut today, and then
at Dave's Hot Chicken.
No, I stopped at my brother's because it was like 4 hours before I had to be here. And I was like, I'm not driving back to Pulaski. I just come back out here. But I got food on my way there, and then I get there, and I didn't know my nephew was home from school today because he had to like go to the doctor's for something in the morning. And he was like, "Hey, we're gonna go to Dave's Hot Chicken. Do you want to go?" And I was like, "I mean, I'll go." But
all right, so you were a come with guy.
Yeah, I was come with guy.
And didn't dabble in the chicken?
It looks good, and also I'm not a spicy guy either. You can get no spice on it, but I feel like if you're going to somewhere named Hot Chicken,
yeah, I feel they might ridicule you.
Yeah, exactly. And I would be understanding of it. Yeah, you know what I mean?
They'd be like, we need one 3-piece, no spice. It's for a wimp.
I was gonna say it's for a cop. Why'd you tell him it's for a cop?
Yeah, why'd you tell it's for a cop? So they'd make it extra good. Get me a goddamn liter of cola.
Last night I decided to lay in bed at like 8 o'clock, and I just watched like 12 episodes of Psych. It felt like because I hadn't watched it in a while, and I was like, let's throw it on, and threw it on in the 4th season because I was like, you've watched the 1st season more than any other season, you know what I mean? So I just threw it in the middle and just got lost. It's just such a good show. It's so undervalued, man.
Yeah, I feel
Sean Spencer's so like a great character.
Of the people I know, You're really the only one I've discussed psych with.
You want to know how I got obsessed with psych? It's a super funny story. All
Because
right.
it was on USA all the time.
So, yes. Yeah, no, that was 100% one. So, allegedly, I may have been doing something with my cousin that would be frowned upon by police officers.
Allegedly. This is
And
not an admission of guilt.
my dad found
This
out
is not
about,
allowed in the court of law.
My dad found out about this alleged act about a week and a half into my summer vacation, my junior year.
Mm-hmm.
So I then got grounded for the whole summer.
Wow.
And the only thing I could do is watch TV. Like, I couldn't even go to Earth Day to help clean up because my dad said my friends were going to be there. And it would bring
Earth
me,
Day?
it'd bring me
I thought this
enjoyment.
was Earth Day is in April.
No, it was May.
Earth Day is April.
Oh, no, that was a different
22nd.
year. I was grounded a lot. Different year. You're totally right.
Don't question my Earth Day knowledge.
No, you're totally right. So, but for the whole summer, I couldn't do anything except for watch TV. And Psych was on USA all day, every day. So I recorded every single episode, and that was how I became obsessed with it.
Okay.
No, yeah, I got grounded a lot in school. That time I got grounded was for grades.
The
I was-
Earth Day one?
Yeah.
Because that's during school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then but the worst part is my mom said my parents are divorced. My mom said I could go to Earth Day, and like an hour before, my dad found out I was going, and he's like, "Yeah, you're not going to that." And I was like, "This isn't for fun. I'm giving back to the environment, and
We're trees, man.
Yeah, yeah. I got grounded a lot. I was grounded probably 75% of high school. Most of it was grades. Other than that, I was a pretty good kid.
Other than all the trouble, I was great.
I never got in trouble in school except for grades.
I never got in trouble. I just didn't attend class.
You get suspended for 3 days out of school suspension. I forgot about that.
Coming up next break, Mike tells us what went wrong.
That was totally my fault.
2, 3, 4, 5. Everybody in the car, so come on, let's ride.
All right, back at it here on this Thursday. Phone lines open. 315-437-7644. Them's the digits. Give a ring. Come hang out. Kevin Sweeney, Sports Illustrated college basketball writer, joins us next. I guess I'll ask Kevin, was I too harsh on the ACC yesterday in proposing vast conspiracy theories that would favor Duke and North Carolina? Of course not. It's always appropriate to propose conspiracy theories in the ACC that favor Duke and North Carolina. That's appropriate and encouraged, especially here in Syracuse. So maybe we won't ask him that part. But I still want to know, like, what are we doing with what the ACC? I don't want to say they proposed it yesterday. They did it. They did more than propose. They passed it yesterday. That they're going to the 18-game schedule. All right. More non-conference games. Okay. So there's 18 teams in the league, 18-game schedule. What happens in that scenario? You play one team twice, and then you play everybody else the once, right? Due to, I don't know, logic, math, whatever you like. Well, the ACC said, okay, yeah, you'll play one team twice. For Syracuse, that team's Pittsburgh. All right, makes sense. It's either going to be Pittsburgh or Boston College in that scenario. Pittsburgh makes a good deal of sense. Okay. But then they said, you're going to play another team twice. But we're not going to tell you who that is, and that's going to change all the time. And then I said, well, that don't math. And then they said, and there'll be one team, and we're not going to tell you who that is, who you don't play at all. Which just makes no sense to me. So it just feels like, has anyone out there watched Breaking Bad? The answer is yes. You've all watched Breaking Bad. No spoilers. The show was 15 years ago. Season 4? I want to say it's season 4. The second to last episode of season 4 is entitled Half Measures. It feels thus far what the ACC has told us is a half measure. Here's what we're sort of going to do. No spoilers. I won't tell you how that episode ended. It didn't go well for all involved. The next episode was called Full Measures. They took it a little bit farther with minor explosions. Dinging bells. The ACC is the king of the half measure. Like, hey, we're going to fix this, and we're doing this, and then, all right, we'll leave it up to the rest of y'all. Like, you going to do something else to fix it, or are you going to do something that's going to help the league as a whole? You got an idea? Anyone want to propose an idea? If you want to have something, you want to do something cool and wacky, or you're going to leave open part of the season to kind of schedule on the fly, which will be a pain in the butt, is, if you actually plan it out, you might be able to pull it off. You going to do that? Is that going to be your rotating double up? Well, you haven't said anything out loud that indicates that. Hey, ACC, words out loud, ideas, public, please. Like, there was no rush to declare this without the other part. Like, what's the rush here? If you're doing one thing, like, give us the whole story. I don't want to hear, yeah, we fixed the problem. No, you haven't. You haven't fixed anything. Now is it just up to all 18 teams to now go out and magically schedule harder games that they're also going to win that are going to somehow benefit the league? No questions asked. Come on now. There's got to be a second part to the plan. But it's very ACC to only have the first part of the plan. It's their specialty. Hey, we're going to do something. Oh, yeah? What's that? We're going to do this. Okay. How's it going to work? Please wait on hold. Come on, ACC. How is this plan thus far? All right. You're doing something. You're doing things. But what are you doing and how is it going to work? The how and the why. ACC does not lead the country in the how or the why. Don't lead the country in the how or the why. So, come on. Gotta give me something. Give me a February ACC Big 12 matchup. All right. Give me a middle of February crazy Saturday where half the league has home games and they get, not randomly, but they get matched with somebody from the other half of the league based on the standings at that point. All right, let's get nuts with it. If you're going to do something, get wacky. Like current college sports and the way people are succeeding right now, it is all about pushing the envelope. It's all about, look at Fran Brown. Look at all the stuff Fran Brown's doing. Like, did we conceive of any of this like a year ago, what he's been up to? No. Absolutely not. The ACC could go for a little of that. They might need to let Fran Brown take over the college basketball scheduling matrix for the ACC. Fran Brown will be the answer to all of the ACC's basketball problems. Yes, that is what we have just concluded. All right, let's take a break. We'll get Kevin Sweeney's thoughts on it next, of course, of Sports Illustrated. Kevin joins us next here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio.
The Sport.
Well, go watch Breaking Bad, San Diego Q's. It just keeps getting better. Yeah, like my yard is so wet right now that even if it stops raining, like when can I actually mow my lawn without destroying it? And then, yes, then watch Better Call Saul, which is also excellent. Then if you haven't watched Mad Men, watch that too. Because the only reason any of us knew about Breaking Bad when it came on is because they were advertising it during Mad Men. Then go watch The Godfather. Because the only reason we knew about the show Mad Men is because AMC started running The Godfather nonstop for 2 months. And who can avoid clicking on The Godfather when it's on? Shout out to you, Don Draper. Yeah, Better Call Saul, I mean, that was a slow burn now. But after Breaking Bad, you just had to give them a full faith of concept. Yeah, then watch The Sopranos. I love Mad Men. What a great series. I basically watched all The Sopranos after the fact. The Sopranos is a hard binge watch. There's a lot more episodes than you really think. It's great, but it just takes a while. Oh man, I did the same. I watched The Shield 3 years ago, Matt. Sometime after it was done. Oh man, great show. FX had a lot of great shows that I did. I did that for Justified also. If you haven't watched Justified, great show. Well, if you remember to watch these shows, San Diego Cuse, then you might not have as much time for the transfer portal. I only saw bits and pieces of Rescue Me. Yeah, Michael Chiklis in The Shield is fantastic. We'll see if Mubot takes requests, Matt. Screenshot the chat, San Diego Cuse. Yeah, I feel they may have some roster filling out to do, San Diego Cuse. My guess is they're done with like anything resembling an Impact, but you think maybe another Impact? Well, that would be something.
Shows on QSportsTalk.com. All across CNY, it's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
All right, back at it here on this Thursday. Talked a lot here in the last couple days about the ACC. Came out roundabouts this time yesterday. The ACC officially announcing they're moving from a 20-game league schedule to an 18-game league schedule. To discuss that and all things college hoops, we bring in our guy Kevin Sweeney from Sports Illustrated. Thanks for hopping on as always, Kev.
What's going on, man? How are you?
All right, we're doing well, and we're still trying to figure out the end goal here of what the ACC announced yesterday. What is your general thoughts here of the ACC going 20 games to 18 in league play starting this year?
Yeah, look, I think there's nothing you can do in scheduling to make up for the fact that the teams haven't been good enough, right? Like that's the core problem here. And minor moves at the margins don't solve those. But I think the hope and the thinking, at least, is to allow the bigger brands in the conference, obviously the great teams like the Dukes and the Louisvilles, but also I think there's a number of programs that are quite marketable, Syracuse included, to go out and get 1 to 2 more marquee games in the non-conference, have a little bit more flexibility in how they want to schedule, and hopefully a couple fewer of these landmine type games against teams that really can only hurt you from a resume's perspective. And I don't think it's totally out of left field. I think it's something that's been in conversation in a lot of leagues. Is like where should our number settle at? 20 was the wave of the last 5 years or so, but we're not that far removed from 20 being sort of a outside thought for anyone. So it's to see if it has any tangible impact. I doubt it'll be too transformational, but it does at least give some folks some flexibility.
Yeah, if you don't win the non-conference games, it doesn't matter how many you play. Like at the rate the ACC won them last year, it wouldn't have done anything useful. I'm intrigued here to see this going forward, and the ACC really hasn't tipped their hand one way or another on this. Do you think, all right, the ACC has just turned everybody loose and like, okay, go guys, go do you, go figure it out and figure out what works best? Or is there going to be any like concentrated league plan about this? Like another, we already have ACC, SEC. Could there be ACC Big 12 or something? Like, do you see anything like that, or is this just every school for themselves?
I'd be a little bit surprised if there was, another conference challenge, just because I think the planning element of that is really hard. I know there has been conversation between the ACC and the Big East about some sort of partnership. Shrinking your league game count down would help with that. Although at the same time, if you were to do that, the Big East is a 20-game league season, and they love that because they get to play a double round robin, which is so rare these days. So I don't think this was a move to set up something like that. I think it is somewhat of an every man for themselves. I think at the end of the day, what it's really trying to do is empower the best programs. If Duke can go play a home-and-home with UConn, the ACC doesn't want to slow Duke down from doing that, and I think that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, the main thing that I read is weird coming out of this yesterday is like, all right, you go to 18, okay, fine, whatever. But in an 18-team league, the thing that makes sense would be to play one team twice and then everybody else once. The ACC is like, no, you can play one team twice, then we're going to give you a random other team to play twice, and then there'll be a third team that you don't play at all. What do you think they're going for here? I don't get this. I don't know what the end goal is of literally having just one random team you don't play here during the course of the season.
Yeah, look, I don't think that made a whole lot of sense. I think if I had to guess, the thinking is that there's certain programs that have multiple rivals, and instead of having to pick between those or potentially never having Duke Louisville twice in a season, they didn't want to lose that, so they were willing to give away a Duke BC game or something like that year over year. But yeah, look, it feels a little stupid to have one left off. If you want to go to some sort of divisional system, I know there's been some talk of that. I even was tweeting yesterday about the potential for some sort of in-season dynamic scheduling where maybe you wouldn't play multiple teams a year. I could see that. Having one random team you don't get to play out of 18 just feels quite bizarre.
I kind of liked your dynamic scheduling idea, Kevin, because you talk about all of this. It's just kind of shuffling chairs around a little bit. Your idea, and it would, you'd have to flesh it out a little bit, and there'd be a lot of logistics and whatnot. But like that would actually be something, right? If you could look at your teams and then rearrange who they're playing late in the season, like you could actually take a little control over getting your team some more important games down the stretch. Do you think anybody would ever consider that due to the logistics involved with something like it?
Look, I think everything's on the table because everyone's obsessed now with generating more revenue. And the easiest ways to generate more revenue are, number one, make the NCAA tournament, and number two, play high-leverage games in February and March, which TV wants, right? So if there was something that could be done financially to make it worth everyone's while, I think it's totally a possibility. I don't think the ACC seems likely to be the leader on that front. I think you'd want to see someone else pilot it, whether it be the Atlantic 10, which has talked about it in some form or fashion, maybe the Mountain West Coast, something like that. But yeah, look, I was just going through it yesterday. I mean, if you made your final 5 games of the year in pods, and you basically played, the 6 best teams played the top 6 in the final 5 games of the year, and worked your way down. You'd up your quad 1 and 2 opportunities for your real contender teams pretty substantially. And I was just looking through yesterday. I mean, SMU and Wake and all those teams, they all played 1 out of their final 5 against the quad 1 or 2. Like, they just didn't have the opportunities down the stretch to make a sustained push. I think something like dynamic scheduling would give you an opportunity to allow those teams to at least make their own bed, right? Like, maybe Wake isn't good enough, maybe SMU isn't good enough, but at least put them on the floor with Duke and Clemson and Louisville as many times as you can, and see if they can go get those wins and earn their way into the field.
Yeah, at least the bubble teams, right, would get to play each other in that scenario to help sort it out, which, in this massive league, most are going to play the other team once, so why not give them a shot here? So we got Kevin Sweeney from Sports Illustrated talking college hoops here, and I think the real crux of it here is you mentioned revenue, and obviously we talked earlier this week on the football side of things, Notre Dame and Clemson having this now separate scheduling agreement, which is very specifically a revenue-driven thing. I'm like, all right, I like it or not, that at least makes sense. I understand where they're coming from on that. When you look at the basketball thing, is it revenue? Is it trying to get more teams in the tournament, which I know is revenue in its own way? What is their main goal out of what they're doing here?
I think the main goal is tournament access and keeping the biggest brands in the conference happy. Just as, Florida State and Clemson have gotten a little bit of grace on the football side, I think you'll see that some with Duke and Carolina and Louisville on the basketball side of things. But I do think more than anything, this was about trying to spin things back the other direction from a basketball landscape. I just think you just went through the league, and there was too many games last year for Duke and for Carolina against the Cals and the Virginia Techs. And if those teams aren't going to be at all anywhere close to competitive, then you got to find ways to give your best teams opportunities to play marquee games. I just don't think Duke played enough of them last year, and because of that was really because of ACC's weakness this year.
Yeah, I'd be reasonably certain here, specifically those two teams, that they will take this opportunity to add two, legit games each to their schedule. How do you think the rest of the league handles it? Because, obviously when you go back, it's only the last few years, right? It's been 18 games. Like some of these teams used those 2 games and it was Cupcake City. Some of them used it to play more local teams. Do you think teams now will be committed to the idea of seeking out bigger games, or how do you think that plays out league-wide?
Yeah, look, I think everyone will schedule in their own best interests, right? Like, I know that sounds really simple, but I don't think Cal needs to be scheduling for an at-large bid right now, right? Like that's just not where their program has been. They haven't been over 500 since 2017, right? My focus, if I was running the schedule for Cal, would not be to schedule for an at-large. It would be to schedule to get to 500. So if that means 2 extra cupcakes, sign them up. Let's go play 2 more cupcakes, right? Now, again, I think the hope would be that any team that has a real shot, right? If you're looking at things and saying, hey, we can go do this thing, we can get in the tournament, you got to take advantage and use these games wisely. I know we saw the home and home announcement between NC State and VCU. Like, obviously that game could have been played in a 20-game league schedule, but go out and play games like that against really quality opponents that, you might not have been able to fit in as a home and home otherwise. I love that. I think that could be good for the league, but I think overall you're going to see some teams, if they need to win, to keep their jobs, or they need to win to build some momentum, yeah, they're going to take the 2 cupcakes. And unfortunately, too much of college basketball scheduling, this is where not having, a SAR running around saying, hey, you have to schedule this way, you have to do this, you have to do that. You're going to have people who schedule out of their own, protect your own interests. In many cases, that's 2 more wins.
And that brings us to Syracuse here, where I think all of these things are true for Syracuse right now. They, they're in the portal. They have plans on hopefully getting back to the tournament. At the same time, the coach's job might be on the line. What do you do if you're Syracuse scheduling wise with those couple of games this year? Are you looking for wins? Are you looking at your old Big East rivals? Where do you look for a couple of games this year?
Yeah, look, I think especially at a place like Syracuse, you do want to start thinking about revenue, right? And a big-time home game in November, December does generate some real money, right? And that's been one of the conversations when you talk about the death of MTEs, and this is a long, hour-long conversation we could have. But the reason that Maui and Atlantis aren't as attractive anymore is because you're giving away three dates on your schedule that you could be playing a high-level home game, right? UConn says, why would we go to Maui? We can come play 2 bye games where we'll sell out the place. And, oh, by the way, we'll have a premium game against Arizona that's huge for our season ticket base, right? So I think if you're Syracuse, you get 2 of these games, maybe you take 1 as an easy win. But I'd like to find a good home and home to play that can make us some money because, obviously it's an incredible fan base and people should come out and support, and it can be a pretty big moneymaker for the program.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 teams that we discuss a lot around here for ideas like that are UConn, for obvious reasons and the history, and St. John's due to the access to New York City and playing down in the Garden. It's just like, oh yeah, but by the by, they're both top 10 teams right now and have been. It's like I do wonder if you reach that far when you're doing something like that this year.
Yeah, look, I might try to go pair up with Providence, pair up with someone. There's some juice to it. There's some old Big East vibe to it, but. Yeah, I don't know if this year is the time to sign up to play Pitino in the place.
Yeah, maybe Nova this year. They just got the Pope, so I mean that could be a big time a matchup for things. We got Kevin Sweeney with us talking basketball, college basketball from Sports Illustrated. Any thoughts on how Syracuse has hit this offseason? They're very active in the portal, very decisive. It feels like in their moves. Do you like what they've done here in this offseason?
I think you feel pretty good about it overall. It's probably gone as well as you could have hoped in terms of keeping the guys you really wanted to keep at the top of your roster with Starling and Freeman, but then also going out and loading up. I think Nate George was a phenomenal get, a guy that I think has a really bright future and already has the pedigree of being one of the best point guards in the league. And I think their guard play has a chance to be really good. You worry a little bit more about their front court, maybe their traditional center spot, not quite where you'd want it to be, but they should have the pieces to at least get back to that top half, hopefully top third of the ACC, and that gets you at least in the NCAA tournament conversation. And if you're not there, I think it's pretty easy to tell where the direction of the program is.
Yes, that seems to be the general consensus around here. As John Wildhack talked, whenever it was, a couple months ago, about the idea of important games in the month of March. You know what I found interesting, Kev, as we wrap up here, about watching how Syracuse did the portal this year. We've spent a lot of time this year talking about, like, okay, what does a GM do? What's the importance of that? And Syracuse added Alex Klein this year. Me watching Syracuse go through the portal, it just felt a lot more organized and a lot more decisive than what we saw in the pre-GM landscape. Is that a correct assessment, do you think? And I'm thinking more nationwide. Is that what you've seen now that more schools add these positions, that the portal felt, I mean, there's a ton of people in it. It just felt a little less chaotic to me this year than it had in years past, despite the crazy volume that was in it.
Yeah, I think it's faster without question. I think it's essential now that you can, in the span of a couple days, go from a guy not even being in the portal to potentially being close to getting a commitment. And part of that's the money involved. Part of that is that you have people on both sides now, agents on the player side, and then a GM potentially on the school side that are working on this 24/7, 365, right? So not only is there an evaluation that's taking place, right? I think Alex Klein had probably watched a lot of these guys that wound up in the portal before they were in it, but also the communication with the agents and say, hey, like, this is a good situation if we decide to go move, right? And so I think, without question, it's something that has to happen a lot quicker. There's not a lot of time to spend 2 or 3 weeks doing a protracted recruitment with multiple visits. Like, that just doesn't happen anymore. And so you got to be ready once the kid's ready to go in. And I thought Syracuse was a lot more prepared for it. I think a lot of people were. The market was crazy. The money exploded in ways I don't think a lot of people expected. And, a GM doesn't solve all your problems, I always say. But I think you need people thinking about roster building and personnel every second of every day if you're going to be successful in this landscape. And Syracuse has a guy like that now.
Yeah, because the coaches kind of have to worry about the basketball part of things during the season at some point. So having somebody that gets to focus elsewhere seems to be, I don't want to say the way of the future, it's the way of the present right now for sure. All right, Kev, always great to chat. Appreciate the time today. We'll catch up again soon.
Thanks, sir. We'll talk.
All right, there he is. Our guy Kevin Sweeney. Check him out. Sports Illustrated, college basketball, and to Kev's point, college basketball, like all these sports, they used to have a break. There used to be an off season at some point. The off seasons, more than anything, seem to have gone the way of the dodo bird. All right, let's take a break here in this hour. Brought to you by William Mattar. Phone lines open next little bit here. 315-437-7644. Get your thoughts and more. Talk lax next hour with Orange defenseman Michael Grace. All that when we come back after this here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. Oh, man. What is this email I've just got? Syracuse announces the addition of 5 transfers in an article where they announced the addition of 6 transfers. Look, Mike's back.
So when I was like 16,
I like how you've picked up the story exactly where you left it off 20 minutes ago.
So when I was like 16, my family and I went camping for like a week. And my cousin may allegedly have found a substance that you can drink at somebody else's campsite late at night.
Okay.
And he might have drank like 75% of it in about 3 minutes.
That's a problem unless it's like a lemonade.
Yeah. And I had a couple sips of this lemonade, but nothing crazy.
Or, water.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you can chug it.
The lemonade did not impact my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But it heavily did.
Well, he had 3/4 of it.
Yes. And then allegedly some things that we don't own may have been broken.
Allegedly.
And then he, not allegedly, I had to go to the hospital.
Oh. Because I'd imagine allegedly he had more stuff in his stomach than was ideal.
Yeah.
And they probably had to get some of it out.
More than that was ideal for like a 35-year-old person. And we were 15. So,
allegedly.
Allegedly. And then
I like saying allegedly for things that
I
are
was
100%
asked,
true.
when we were all at the hospital, I was asked if I partook.
Allegedly.
And I said no. But then the next day I felt bad. So I...
Because you allegedly may have had a hangover.
Allegedly! I didn't ingest enough to impact me at all.
Okay.
It was like a 15-year-old wanting to try something new.
Okay.
And then that was it. But I felt really bad. So the next day I felt it was the right thing to do to tell my dad that I allegedly lied to him.
No. Allegedly.
And then I still got a very heavy death sentence on me.
Unallegedly.
And what the worst part about it was the next week, my aunt was like posting videos of my cousin doing a bunch of fun stuff. And I just was on lockdown for the entire summer. And I was like, what is this? And yeah. My dad said it was because I lied to him, which is valid. But I also, under my own decision, decided to tell him the truth.
To unlie?
Yeah, which I feel like should have gotten me clear. But it didn't. But then I got suspended my senior year.
So what lesson have we learned here? I'm not entirely certain.
To this day, I don't know what lesson I needed to take away from that moment.
Allegedly.
And then my senior year, I got suspended for 3 days, out of school suspension, and this was 100% my fault, being a very immature 17-year-old kid. I kind of got in a verbal argument with my teacher. And I may have called him an effing a-hole.
Oh, allegedly.
No, this happened. And then he sent me to the office, and I was so... The 17-year-old anger hormones were flowing through the system. So on my way out, I saw a cardboard box full of... It was science class, so full of the goggle things that you wear.
Yeah.
And I just open-palmed hit this thing as hard as I could. And the box exploded, and all of the things went everywhere.
How are people supposed to use the Bunsen burners without the goggles, Mike?
I didn't think about how I was affecting those others in my class. So then I ended up going to the principal's office.
People could have burned their eyes.
And I got a 3-day suspension, but I will say positive what came out of this. I ended up talking to my principal for an hour and a half, where he just ended up talking to me about life and everything. And he gave me some of the best advice I'd ever heard. And I'll give you the cliff notes because you only got 15 seconds left. But he said, anger isn't a bad thing. It's what we do with that anger that makes us the people we become.
So stop throwing the damn goggles around.
Yeah, I haven't thrown goggles since. But I think about that conversation that I had with him probably once a week. Or when I get really, really upset about stuff. It allows me to kind of separate my emotions.
It's true. I haven't seen Mike slam a box of goggles around the office
I've gotten heated a couple of times, but nothing. I don't think I've ever lost my cool here.
More things Mike screwed up in his childhood after this. All right, back at it here on a Thursday. 315-437-7644 if you'd like to join in. Always great to talk some hoops with our guy Kevin Sweeney, Sports Illustrated. We went to the same high school, though not at the same time. It's completely incidental. Go Blue Bison. This email just came in with no new information, but the fact that it's in an official email is sort of information in itself. Syracuse has officially announced the addition of all of the portal players in basketball. In alphabetical order, Tyler Betsy, Nathan George, Nate Kings, William Kyle, Ibrahim Soare, and Bryce Zephyr have all now officially been announced as the newest members of the Syracuse basketball team, which essentially means that, you've handed in your financial paperwork and whatnot and all that. So they are officially allowed to be discussed by all involved right now. Tyler Betsy, Nathan George, Nate Kings, William Kyle, Ibrahim Soare, and Bryce Zephyr. Does that mean they're done in the portal? No, but it means that at least we, in theory, don't have to worry about any nonsense involving those players. Though in the current world, rules, what rules? Do whatever you like. It's interesting to see them all listed in one place because you start, we've talked about all of them individually and whatnot. Betsy from Connecticut, Nathan George from Toronto, Nate Kings from Salem, Oregon, William Kyles from Bellevue, Nebraska, Ibrahim Swari originally from Guinea, the country in Africa, Bryce Zephyr from Carson, California. They're like this transfer class, it is from all over hell and gone. You got East Coast, you got Canada, you got West Coast, you got Northwest Coast, you got Southwest Coast, you got dead middle of the country, and you got an entirely different continent. Red Autry has gone shopping all over the lot. Go figure. There's more players from the same school in Georgia Tech than there are from the same state. So nobody doubles up on the same state on this list. But that group has officially been announced by Red Autry. So there you are. Tyler Betsy, Nathan George, Nate Kings, William Kyle, Ibrahim Swari, and Bryce Zephyr. 6 transfers in. You got the 2 returning players in J.J. Starling and Donnie Freeman, and you got the 4 incoming freshmen this year. When you look at Luke Fennell, I believe it's Fennell, not Fennel. That's learned that last week. Kyan Anthony, Aaron Womack, and Sadiq White. So you got 12. That's enough people to play basketball. 12. It'll be interesting to see if there's any roster filler added or anything else added, and we're going to get into coming up. We keep talking about rosters, roster limits, things changing. Where are we at in that? Because it feels like it's been a very, very, very long process, because it has been a very, very, very long process, literally in and out of courtrooms to decide all that stuff. Something happened yesterday. We'll tell you what that is when we come back. Phone lines open as well, 315-437-7644. Lax, 20 minutes out. We'll talk to a guy that has successfully utilized the transfer portal. That is Michael Grace, Orange starting defenseman. He joins us 20 minutes out. We're back after this here on a Thursday. It's Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio.
This is Orange Nation.
The one and only Buddy Boeheim. Buddy, it's great chatting with you again. And Dad's going to be a part of it as well.
Oh, man. Got to give the Starlin Vocal Band just a little love every now and again, Super Cat. Yeah, it's probably not doing a good job weighing. We once totally accidentally in some chemistry class or something, you know how with the Bunsen burners, you plug in the tube and then you do the little clickety-click-click thing with the Flint striker deal? We legitimately accidentally turned on the wrong gas valve and lit the one that wasn't connected to anything. And it was just oh no, giant fire. Turn it off. Nobody noticed. Keep it moving. Let's turn the right one on. It's kind of wild to let high school kids just have flamethrowers with freaking Bunsen burners. Yeah, we didn't even light the hose. It was just the open nozzle just had flames shooting out of it. Uh-oh. Turn it off. Uh-oh, that's bad. Why are they giving 16-year-olds unfettered access to fire? This seems like a bad idea. That's a great question, Super Cat. I have no idea. Do modern high school kids get to Bunsen burner? I actually do not know the answer to that question. It just doesn't seem like it would be a thing that would be going on anymore. These are the questions we have. I'll have to ask my wife. Maybe she'll know. She's involved in elementary education, but perhaps she knows if they've got Bunsen burners going at the high school. I did not, Kev. Let it fly. What do we got? Yeah, huge up, like SEC Pope. We got straight up Big East Pope. He Instagrammed himself walking places, but it seemed awfully convenient that mid-Instagram that Kevin Garnett drove right past him with his head out his sunroof. Oh, you put it up, scrolling up. Scrolling up. Nope. Vodka chicken parm over vodka Riggies. 1 meatball, 2 knots, $15.99. Get it. That sounds fantastic. Large cheese pizza, 12 wings, $19.99. That's just a standard great deal. Large cheese, $9.99. Yeah, it's great deals. They're fantastic deals. They're not remotely convenient to me deals. Therefore, I will not be getting them. But, I mean, it's an unbelievably good deal. All 3 of them. You going for it? You going for the deals, Kev? You getting a little vodka parm? Well, if you like obesity, Wheeze, you should be on the lookout for good deals. Nice. I like a vodka sauce.
From a standpoint of status.
Can't go backwards. Can't go forward. What am I gonna do?
Hey, what happened? Lisa, if you don't like your job, you don't strike. You just go in every day and do it really half-assed. That's the American way.
I hope it's happy hour.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
This is a great day. A really great day.
All across CNY, it's the 315 with Brian Higgins. Halfway home, we drive into the second hour with Burdick BMW.
That we do. Hour 2 is afoot. Glad to have you along. We'll talk a little lacrosse, getting you ready for Sunday's NCAA tournament first round game. We'll do that in about 15 minutes with Orange starting defenseman Michael Grace. See what his year in Orange has been like. We talked to him back in February, so very early on into his journey at Syracuse after a full career at RIT and a couple of D3 national championships. See how he's enjoying his time at Syracuse as they get set to make their May push on Sunday afternoon into evening at 5 o'clock. With that, as we pull into hour 2, you know, who likes legal updates? Anybody out there for court updates? Paperwork submitted to judges. Yes? Who's in for paperwork submitted to judges? So we've been telling you now for weeks upon weeks upon weeks upon weeks upon months now about this House versus NCAA case, which is still not the House of Representatives. It's a guy named House. And no, it's not the doctor. It has nothing to do with him or the TV show. He was a swimmer for Arizona State. But Judge Wilkin in this case, as we talked to Amanda Kristovich from Front Office Sports about this a week and a half ago, said everything is ready to go. The main thing that we look at this case for is the revenue sharing coming out of it, the $20-ish million that's going to be distributed from each school if they want to their athletes as kind of, you know, a different way to handle NIL, of schools being able to pay athletes directly. That is the main eyeball-inducing point of this. It's also a class action lawsuit that has been mediated, and they're trying to agree on it. and it has to be signed off on by a judge. And if the judge doesn't sign off on all of it, then, none of it goes through. And Judge Wilkin has been quite clear about what she wants in this over the course of the last quite literally 6, 8, 10 months. And her final sticking point is that the incoming roster limits coming to sports. And we look at football specifically here. Previously, football had an 85 scholarship limit, but then you could have walk-ons, just walk-ons for days. You could have walk-ons. The new proposed rule is allowing up to 105 scholarships, but it also being up to 105 people on the roster. Judge Wilkin is concerned about players getting cut from rosters, and this on all teams, not just football, to get down to the roster limits, which has been happening in various sports across the country. She wanted it phased in some sense, so people wouldn't be just losing spots, scholarship or otherwise, that they had thought were theirs. So this proposal by the lawyers on the House side of things was submitted last night. That, quote, any athlete who falls into the category of being assured a roster spot in 2025-2026, or who was on this past year's roster for a team, 2024-2025, but has since lost their spot. All of these people would be called, quote, designated student athletes, I guess as they had been designated to be a student athlete. Each D1 school that opts into the settlement will then have to submit a list of designated student athletes within 30 days of final approval. The lawyers then can enforce submitting these lists if needed, blah, blah, blah. So my main read on this, with my notorious legal background, is what Judge Wilkin is concerned about is people that had schollies and are getting cut because their sports may be losing them, or the roster size, or whatever. That seems to be her main concern, people getting axed from teams because specifically of this lawsuit. Where I'm trying to look at this from is from the perspective of one Francis Brown. And Fran has clearly, for months now, and we started talking about this when this first happened, because it was like, all right, how fast can you get up to this number? Like, that's a big leap, getting from 85 Scully players to 105 if your school's going to pay for it, if you're going to be allowed to do it. The difference now, it used to be you couldn't have any split scholarships. Now you got a 105 roster limit. You're allowed to have split scholarships if you want. So it's possible to give your long snapper a half Scully. Every other sport besides football and basketball has been able to do this for a long time. It's kind of the way other sports do it to make people whole. Lacrosse has done it for years and years and years, where you go through financial aid and this and that, then through scholarships you try to make as many of your roster whole as possible in the end. With football and the basketballs, it's always been you're either on scholarship or you are not. Fran's been building up to 105, and we've been counting along, and Mike McAllister has been keeping count, and we've been counting his count because, why count again if he's already counted? Football right now, after the spring portal, where they're at thus far, after the previous portal, after people have left, and adding in the expected incoming freshmen that are not here yet, football's at 103. There is no good way on God's green earth to get from 103 to 85 without mass roster carnage. And Fran got to 103 by having the largest recruiting class in the country, brought in 34 players, and hitting the spring portal hard. Talked about the lineman. We've talked about it all. He's up to 103 now. There's no way to get from 103 to 85. My read on this is, well, if you were recruited for the class of 2025 under the assumption that based on this, there was going to be a scholarship for you and a roster spot for you, that kind of, I can read it that way. That falls under that you were assured a roster spot, does it not? I don't know the legalese behind it all, but I can read it that way. So I think this looks good for Fran having as many. Now, As far as players not getting shoved off rosters and whatnot, will this be good enough for Judge Wilkin? It does not necessarily feel they've gone 100% of the way that they were asked to do by the judge 2 weeks ago. And we'll see when she rules on this and what the ruling will be. But it's going to be fascinating to see it go down. But my reading of this, if my legal understanding based on absolutely nothing is correct, is that Fran's in darn good shape for his roster next year, as far as not having to do any trimming or whatnot going forward. So good news for Fran. And again, Fran Brown, what have we talked about all spring? Getting out ahead of it. Spring game with Deion Sanders. Who's there? Fran Brown. Saying out loud, yeah, we're not paying a slot receiver that much. Fran Brown. NIL head coach. Winners get washed. Fran Brown. I don't know how many other teams are up to snuff or where they're at scholarship-wise or, roster-wise. But Fran Brown took a team in a year and a half that was notoriously lacking depth. We heard it from Dino Babers for 8 years. No depth, no depth, no depth, no depth. And Fran Brown somehow took that. And in the span of a year and a half, going from an 85 scholarship limit that Syracuse wasn't even at to begin with, in a year and a half has gotten up to almost 105. A year and a half. Are all these players good? Can they play? Questions to answer later. But Fran saw what was happening and jammed the accelerator to the ground and said, we are getting to 105, and then the players can come and go with portal in, recruiting, and whatnot. But come hell or high water, he was getting to 105 with a class of 34 and a massive incoming portal class here this spring. Will it work? Will the players be good? I don't know. But I'll say this right now. The one excuse that there will be no good reason for Syracuse football to have next year is lack of depth. Lack of experience. Comically hard schedule. There's plenty of excuses out there for the taking if you want one. Lack of depth for Syracuse football seems to officially be off the table from the excuse side of things. And Fran Brown, as we know, is not an excuse maker to begin with. But lack of depth? No, sir. Not anymore. Because they moved it in less than 18 months. From shy of the old scholarship limit already to 20 more than that. Just completely turning over the whole roster. I realize you literally couldn't do this in days gone by before the portal and with different eligibility rules and blah, 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 blah. But that's not the land we live in anymore. We live in this land where you can turn it around quickly if you go out and do it. And Fran went out and did it with his staff and everything. It's been wild to watch, as we all know. But, man, within the rules that it looks like are going to be in place this year, Fran, ahead of the pack again. Ready to go. Forward acting. Talking about the ACC and what they're doing with this scheduling. Half measures. Dipping a toe in the water. Fran Brown don't dip a toe in the water. He jumps in. With that, we'll take a break. Lax next. Oh, we're jumping in for Sunday. Cuse and Harvard. The rematch from February. Winner goes to the quarterfinals. Talk to Michael Grace, Orange starting defenseman. We'll do it next year on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. Yeah, they were talking about that on Orange Nation earlier this week, I think, Bowling Ball. I mean, I love me some Fran, but, you still got to look for some guys with consistent results over the years. I love Fran, but you're lying if you're not taking, Kirby Smart over him, but, yeah. Yeah, and as much as I find Dabo a stone-cold goofball, you're lying if you're not taking Dabo over Fran due to sustained success. But if I'm Syracuse, you are in a really good place with Fran Brown right now. You're in a really good place with Fran Brown. I gotta say, like, you're lying if you're not taking Lane Kiffin over Fran right now, right? But you're in a good place with Fran. Man, it's tough for the loser, too, going into the offseason, Wheeze. Losers stay stinky until February. Dude, today, Dabo has 2 national championships and won the league Syracuse is in last year. Like, come on. Like, I love me some Fran, but, like, to say you're not taking Dabo over Fran today is kooky. I mean, maybe Fran's turning himself into the next guy, but now, like, at whatever they're paying Fran right now versus Dabo's salary, if you factor all of that in, yeah, Syracuse needs to take Fran. But and then the hope is Fran's in it for the long haul, whatever that is. If he keeps winning, that'll be put to the test at some point. I mean, Dabo won the ACC last year, Kev, in the new college football world. He won the league. Oh, yeah, it would be totally insane if he pulls that off next year, Philly's most wanted. Damn near incomprehensible, but it hasn't happened yet. Oh! Yeah. There. No? Okay. It was a little on the nose. I don't like what you've done to our dolphin. Yeah, like what? Like what is like innocent bystander? You are Philly's most wanted. You are speaking it into existence. Yeah. The 125. Oh, yeah. Like, realistically right now, for Syracuse, when you look at money and whatnot, like, you're not doing better than Fran. But I'm saying, to say you're taking him over some of these other guys, if, you throw money out and whatever, like, is crazy. But at this second, Fran and Syracuse is the perfect fit.
Why? It's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
All right. Roll into it here on a Thursday. We are 3 days out. We'll be midway through the first quarter at this time, 3 days from now, on Sunday afternoon into evening in the Dome, getting you ready for Syracuse and Harvard first round NCAA lacrosse playoff action. With that, we bring in Syracuse starting defender Michael Grace, who joined us, I think, last back in February. Michael, thanks so much for hopping on today. What's this ride been like for you here? You're 1 year only at Syracuse. Has it been everything you expected? What's it been like here the last few months?
It's been awesome. It's been everything I expected. I'm really glad I chose to come to Syracuse for my last year. The guys have been great. Coach has been great. And we've made it this far, and we've got the games in front of us that we need. And all we got to do is keep winning to go all the way. So far, it's been awesome.
All right. You've had a heck of a week here. ACC championship on Sunday. You get drafted into the PLL on Tuesday. Whirlwind. What's this week been like for you?
It's been awesome. Looking back on it, super grateful to be in this situation, to have these things be able to happen to me, and to be able to win the ACC championship. It's in the past now, but it's something that it's going to stick with me and this team for the rest of our lives. So it's really cool. And then to be able to be drafted with 3 other teammates just a couple days later is awesome too. So it's been a fun week.
You know, the lacrosse draft is so interesting, right? Because like the beginning of the PLL season and the end of the college season, all that, it all kind of intersects a little bit here. So just by the nature of it, they have to do the draft before your season is over. Is that kind of weird to have like, oh right, the future's coming when you're not quite done with this stage of your career yet?
Yeah, it's a little weird to still be in college, but have the draft already done. But you can use it as a little confidence boost to know that we were able to be drafted and keep it going forward into the season. And we have 4 picks on our team and some younger guys who I'm sure in the future are going to get picked up. So it's cool to have that.
Yeah, Sam English went 3rd overall. We had Carter Rice on yesterday, went in the 4th round. We'll have Owen Hiltz on tomorrow, who was the last pick of the 1st round, going 8th overall in the draft on Tuesday night. And I think you're an interesting case, right, when it comes to pro ball. Like some people tend to lean toward the NLL, which is the indoor, the box league. Some tend to lean toward the PLL, which is the field league. You play box as well. Like, are you excited about one more than the other? Are you hoping to do both? What's your goal when it comes to pro lacrosse?
Definitely excited for both. PLL probably more excited because it's coming up right away, but just as excited to get going in the NLL too when that starts up in December. So to be able to have the chance to do both leagues, just like Sam's going to do the same thing, Hiltz will do the same thing. So to be able to compete against those guys in both leagues, it's really exciting.
We got Michael Grace with us, Orange starting defender, getting you ready for Houston-Harvard this Sunday, 5 o'clock in the Dome to start off the NCAA playoffs and the search to get back to the Final Four this year. We've heard from several of your teammates here that you, Michael, last week in the lead into the ACC tournament basically got the whole group together and said, hey, guys, let's have some fun. How did that go down? How did you present that, and what led to you doing that?
Well, it was after our team dinner, and we were having a team meeting, and Caden Cole actually asked me to talk, said just to bring something to the team and talk about it. So something we talked about at my old school RIT was to have fun while we play, and something we did there was when the playoffs started, we would put up a Christmas tree and set up like it was for the holidays, because you get excited for the holidays, and instead of just being nervous for the playoffs, we treated it like we were having fun, like we were getting ready for Christmas morning. So I told the guys that, the best teams that I've been on are the ones that have the most fun. And we got to remember that we're really here to have fun. And when you're having fun on the field, it makes the game so much easier. So I was just trying to reinstill that mindset that we're having fun, and we're, when we're on the field having fun, we're playing our best lacrosse.
What's the balance of that, specifically in lacrosse, Mike? Because, you look at Lax, that there is an inherent flair to it, right? It is not a business-like sport at all times, the way you guys play it. How tough is that to remember, I guess, when you are at the playoffs, as you've been through it before, and it is these important games? How do you balance that stuff out at this time of year?
It can be tough when, there's a lot of pressure, but you just got to treat every game like it's the same, because it's the same rules, it's the same field, it's just a different opponent. And having a quick reset button if a bad play is made, or even if a good play, just trying to stay level and remind yourself that you're having fun. And even though the sport is really aggressive, sometimes it's fun to be aggressive and hit those guys.
Yeah, you're not afraid of that part of the game. We know that, Michael, after watching you play over the course of this whole year. What's the vibe right now on the team as you guys get ready for Harvard on Sunday? Excited, calm? Like, where are you guys at as a team right now?
We're definitely excited, but we're looking into it like it's just another game, even though this is the playoffs now, it's just another game, but it is do or die. But the guys are really excited, to have a chance to play Harvard again in the Dome. We're pretty lucky to get another chance at them, and definitely excited to come out and play a better game than we did last time. And, practice has been good all week. The guys are flying around. You can tell there's a different kind of energy going into the playoffs. So the guys are ready to go.
How much have you looked back at that first meeting? Is that something you've grinded on getting ready for this game? Is that something you try to put past you? What does that first game do in relation to the second game with Harvard?
It's nice to have that first game to look back on, but it's not anything that we've been dwelling on. We don't like to live in the past. We like to take it day by day. It's something we've been talking a lot about this season. So it's not something we're really dwelling on. It's something nice that we were able to see them earlier in the season, so we know some of their tendencies, and we have that scout, and we're ready to take that into this weekend.
I look back at that game. It was, in many ways, the strangest game of the year. I mean, you guys had the 5-0 lead. Johnny Mullen absolutely dominated the faceoffs. It's not one where you look back and you're like, man, what happened? Like, does that make it almost easier to not lean back on it, that it was such a strange result when you look back at how things all came together?
Yeah, it was a weird game. We went up early, and then we kind of let off the gas. Johnny played amazing, and then, we didn't really put together a full 60 minutes, but I think we're a completely different team now, and so is Harvard. So to just look back on that one game and expect that to be the outcome is something that you can't do, because both teams are completely different now. Both teams are a lot better. So going forward, it's going to be a little bit different this game.
Michael Grace is with us, starting defender for the Orange lacrosse team. And I know, Michael, you've told us about the idea of having fun this time of year. It's a lot more fun when you win the games. And you knew that the deal on that when you were at RIT. You won 2 national championships. What else of that experience do you pass along to your teammates, specifically as you get ready for this tournament here?
I think just remaining calm in the games and not getting too high and too low. I think that's the biggest thing, because, if you go down quick in a game, you start to lose, some of that momentum. It's easy to lose that momentum. Or if you go up early in a game, it's easy to ride high and then, let off the gas. So I think trying to instill just remaining level the whole game and playing a full 60 at the same speed is something that worked for us at RIT, and something that I think we're instilling here at Syracuse, especially going into the playoffs and these last 2 games.
I look back to last weekend of the ACC tournament, and what stood out to me the most is you look at the Notre Dame game. You guys played really well. It was a high-quality game, and then quick turnaround. That Duke game was just a grinder, right? What did you get out of winning 2 games in, very different ways? What does that tell you about what you guys can bring here to the playoffs, where you kind of have to win games in different styles at this time of year?
Yeah, we talked about it after the games, how different those 2 games were, and how important it is that we're able to win games in different ways. Against Notre Dame, we relied a little more on offense to score some more goals. And then against Duke, it was more of a defensive game, like a rock fight. Like Coach Moderna said, we got to be able to win a rock fight if we want to go far. And we showed that we can do that, winning that game 9-8. And I think it's really important that both sides of the field, we showed that both sides of the field can play this weekend. And that's something we got to take going forward and put a full 60 together, offensively and defensively.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's more fun to win like the pretty high-flying, exciting game, but you got to generally win at least one grinder if you're going to take it all the way to Memorial Day. I'm not sure how the D3 schedule lined up. Have you ever? I know the playoffs are going on at the same time. Is this your first Mother's Day playoff game? Has this collided for you before?
This has definitely collided before, but it'll be nice to have my mom at the game. She'll be there, so be able to see her on Mother's Day and give her a hug after the game. So she likes watching, so it'll be a good little gift for her if we get a win.
All right. Yeah, so is she cool with this? Like, you never know how it comes down on these Mother's Day.
Yeah, she's giving me the okay to play.
All right, there we go. There's a lot going on right these weekends with graduation. There's Mother's Day. It's Sunday night. There's always a lot going on with this game in the Dome coming up. All right, last thing here, Michael. We talked about the Harvard game last time. What's the one thing you're circling for Sunday as a key for you guys to come out with the win?
I think just treating it like it's another game and playing our game. I think we've shown the last couple of games we came out hotter than we have been the games before that. And I think that comes back to the way that we're practicing. And you can tell this week that we're practicing faster from the start. And I think just coming out flying from the beginning and continuing that for the full 60 is the most important thing for us.
All right, really excited to watch you guys out there on Sunday, Michael. Best of luck this week and going forward, and thanks for hopping on.
Thank you for having me.
All right, there he is, Michael Grace, Orange starting defender, twice a national champ at RIT, and he'll be leading the way on that defense on Sunday. Again, 5 o'clock, Syracuse taking on Harvard, the rematch from a 1-goal Orange loss back in February. Of course, you can listen to the game over on TK99. Pregame with Tim and Kyle will be coming your way at 4 30. That could be a really fun game. A really fun game. Or we'll see if Syracuse is elevated a bit from ACC champs this past weekend. A little revenge on the mind against Harvard. It was 15-14 last time. So I'd say either way, we're looking at something pretty good on Sunday evening in the Dome. All right, let's get a break in. When we come back, we'll get Mike in. We'll do a little 4-on-1. We'll do it next. It's Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio.
The 315 with Brian Higgins.
The ACC is officially... Yeah, I'll be interested. Like, if Fran keeps it moving here and, like, gets to the point where, you know, big money schools start calling, how committed are we to being a coach in the Northeast at that point? Hopefully, that becomes a problem that we need to have. Because we were worried about that with Dino once upon a time. And, yeah. Now we're here. Nice, Kev. Look for a full report tomorrow. Yeah, I'd imagine the word of this deal is it's getting out, Kev. It's out in the streets. There you go, Jen. Look, it's Mike with his haircut. Fresh.
You only noticed because you saw it in the chat.
You did mention it earlier.
Oh, yeah, I did mention that I got a haircut today. I forgot about that. Whoops.
But then you did talk about it in the chat.
Yeah, so Kev said I need to shave, which I do. Got too much neck going on.
You got a little neck going.
I can't grow facial hair enough to have facial hair. You know what I mean? Like, every time I feel like you see me with facial hair, you're like, you're trying.
And yet you haven't.
Haven't what?
Facial hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, currently.
Yeah, I don't have facial hair by choice. I have facial hair due to the fact that I feel I don't grow facial hair fast enough to shave every day. Because shaving sucks. Can we agree with that? Shaving's not fun.
It's no fun.
I mean, it's just me being lazy.
That's why it's nice I only need to do like the neck area now.
Yeah, I'm happy you do, though. I'm not a fan of beards that go below the Adam's apple.
No, you gotta stop.
Above it.
No, it's, like, what are we even doing?
Yeah.
315. Here's Brian Higgins.
Here I am indeed. Rolling along here on this Thursday. I don't know why this Teddy is swimming so much, but he is. It's his name. Let's see what Mike has to say.
I got a lot to say.
You got a lot to say?
Yeah.
Wow, we haven't seen you since Monday, so
That's true.
So you've built up a potential raft of things to say. We'll find out now.
Here's the 411.
Hello, and welcome to Movie Phone.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
In the 315.
So you're going to be doing that all week, right?
Nah.
Well, what's going on is Mike is here for the 411, brought to you by our friends at Superior Plus Propane. Michael.
Hello.
What's up?
Oh, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. As we have been talking the last couple weeks, NBA playoffs in full swing.
They are occurring.
And surprisingly, your bracket looks much worse.
It is falling apart.
This series, or this round than it did last round. And honestly, it's the Celtics. They're down 0-2, man.
They can't make a shot.
Against the Knicks, that's crazy. I never expected this, especially...
because they're up 20 in both games?
Yeah. If you told me the Knicks were going to win this series, I'd be like, oh, lose 2 in Boston, win 2 in New York, lose in Boston, and then, maybe win a Game 7. But no, they are firmly in the driver's seat of this series right now.
If you just looked at the scoreboard midway through the third quarter of both of these games, I was spot on correct.
Yeah.
So was everybody, because who was picking the Knicks to win this series? I had it going either 4 or 5, and... they're up 20 in both games.
Yep.
20!
It might go 4 or 5, but not the direction we
thought.
thought.
They're up 20 in both games. I think Steve had this said earlier on Orange Nation. It's something like teams up 0-2 in series, like when you win the first 2 on the road, it's like 83% of all-time series, because obviously you're not supposed to do that. So I don't get it. Like, the Celtics have been the better team until they implode. I have no idea what's going on. It makes zero sense.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like I was completely wrong on the Knicks. I really felt the Knicks were going to have almost a shot-for-shot replay of last year's playoffs where, you make it past the first round and then you start playing the big dogs and you can't really hang. But, I mean, I don't know if it's just the Knicks are hanging or when Jalen Brunson decides to turn it on, it's at the best time.
Yeah, shout out to Jalen Brunson. He's fantastic.
He has been phenomenal.
He's fantastic.
And I was totally wrong with my opinion on him before this series, before this playoff run. I felt his size was going to be his biggest deterrent on his career, but the dude doesn't play like he's a hair over 6 foot tall. He plays like he's the biggest guy in the court a lot of the time. He demands the ball, and he puts it in the bucket. It's crazy.
Yeah, all I know is this. Here's what's happened in the last, 4 days. Jalen Brunson from Villanova has led a 20-point comeback over the Celtics. Then Jalen Brunson from Villanova has led a 20-point comeback over the Celtics. And then the new Pope today is from Villanova.
Oh. Yeah, see,
the Celtics may be screwed.
Oh, that's a good point.
Like, they got Brunson, they got the Pope.
I didn't know the Pope was from America. I thought it was just from the Western Hemisphere. I learned that today.
Very Western.
Apparently he's
right?
from Chicago?
I don't know.
Is that accurate?
I don't know. America.
That was what I read.
All I know is he's from America and he went to Villanova. Like, there's a Big East Pope.
That's crazy.
Boston, like it's the most Irish Catholic city we got going, and the Pope is back in the other team.
Golly.
The Celtics may be screwed.
They might be.
Yeah.
I mean,
repent.
They do have Jason Tatum on their team, so that was a shot.
He's a Blue Devil.
Yeah, that was a shot.
That's the direct opposite of the Pope.
That is true.
They are so screwed.
Oh my gosh, it's falling into place.
Yeah.
Poor Jason Tatum.
They got the whole Vatican against him.
Yeah, he shot 5 of 19, 1 of 5 from 3. He grabbed 14 boards, but I don't care how many rebounds you get. And you're 6'8", dude. You should be able to get 14 boards.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not shooting well. Give me something.
Well, it's just also how he's like that dunk he had to retake the lead. Do that more.
Yeah.
Like it's so easy for him, and then he just keeps shooting threes.
It was Jalen Brunson is quickly becoming one of my favorite players, which is crazy because he wasn't even close to the top for me. But I've earned a lot. He's earned a lot more respect from me. I know I'm just some dude who's talking on the radio, so he doesn't care. But for me personally, I'm happy for him. It's fun to see. I'm obviously a Warriors fan, but outside of the Warriors, always got to root for the Knicks when they're in it, even though if I don't believe in them, I'm still rooting for them. And now I am rooting for them a lot more. And I don't know why. I think it might just be Jason Tatum in general, because I don't like the Celtics, and I've always been a pretty big fan of the Celtics. And I think it's just him I don't like. It's just making me feel good.
Which is weird, because he's not like a disagreeable human.
No. I don't have reasons.
I don't know what about, because he also sort of rubs me the wrong way, but I don't know why. There's no good reason for it.
You know what it was for me?
Other than he went to Duke.
I saw a video this weekend of like KG, and he was talking to Bill Russell, and Bill Russell got really emotional talking to him and saying, I've lived a lot of my career through you. It's been a pleasure to watch you. I think that's the thing is KG, Bill Russell, these Celtics all-time greats, they don't ask for the love and support, they earn it. I feel like this in his entire career, especially since the last couple of years where they've actually finally started to see success. It was so much easier to root for Jason Tatum when they were losing in the conference finals, because like he would just go out there and ball. It didn't work out. Now it seems like anytime you see him on the court, off the court, he's trying to make a moment. Just let it happen, dude. Just let it happen.
Yeah. Could you imagine? Like, are we about to get legitimately? Are we going to get a Knicks Pacers Eastern Conference Finals?
I would love that. And you know what's crazy about it is, and we talked about this, we thought the East was a lock. We thought the West was going to be the crazy part. I mean, and it is. They got, a 7 and 6 seeder in it. But, I did not. I thought for sure I would have bet my house that it was going to be Cavs and Boston in the conference finals. I thought there was not a shot that any other team was going to make it. And now it's looking like we might get in. And, good job on Tyrese Halliburton, because less than 2 weeks after being voted the most overrated player in the league, he gets 2 game winners in 2 back-to-back series. Good for him.
Right after his dad almost got knocked into next month by Giannis.
That's true.
A wild week for the Halliburton family.
His dad couldn't watch that game winner. He's punching air at home right now.
Oh man.
Oh man. So tonight we got the Warriors, we got the Timberwolves. Warriors, they snuck one away in game 1, especially after Steph went down. They handedly whooped the snot out of the Timberwolves. But Curry's out for this game. I am excited to see how it goes. Apparently, Curry was pretty emotional after he sprained his hamstring. I guess him and Steve Kerr at halftime had a pretty emotional moment where not many words were spoken, but it was a heavy, not confrontation, but interaction, I would say. It was a pretty heavy-hearted interaction where Curry was pretty fearful that the injury was going to be a lot worse than it is. But although he's going to be out for this game, he said he doesn't want to rush anything, but he feels like he could be back pretty soon. And the Warriors are going to need him. I mean, Buddy, he dropped, 33, 38? And he's not going to be able to do that again. I mean, if you're getting 15-plus out of him, he's doing his job. So right now, you're going to have to weigh even harder on him. You're going to need Butler to play out of his mind, because he's going to be the floor general for a lot of this. Him and Draymond are going to be primary ball handlers, I feel, until Curry's back. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go. Game 1 wasn't the best for the Timberwolves, and specifically Anthony Edwards. He did put up 22, but it was a very weak 22, and most of those points came in near the end of the game in garbage time. Not what you like to see out of him. Very interesting. I heard somebody arguing, actually, I think it might have been Chuck at halftime or post-game, I can't remember. He was arguing that Anthony Edwards' ability to shoot the three-pointer has actually been hurting him, because it's making players less fearful that he's going to take them to the basket. He feels that a lot of players want him to shoot the three, even if he makes them, because it's a lot easier to guard.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that.
It's just, he's such a strong downhill runner when he's got that ball. And it's electrifying seeing him dunk over guys.
Yeah, it's the same idea as Tatum. I mean, it's a little different style, but it's the same thought process. Yeah, they're both. Yeah, they're both very good at basketball.
Yes, that is true.
You know who's good at basketball?
Who?
The Thunder.
Yes.
They reminded you that they were very good at basketball last night.
I watched about 4 minutes of that game, and then
You didn't need to watch 5.
And then it was like a 30-point lead, and
You're
I was
like-
like, I'm going to sleep.
Well, I had it on. I wasn't really paying attention. You're just half paying attention. You look at the score. I'm like, man. And then you look at how much time's left. You're like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how do they keep having that many points when there's that much time left?
Yeah, I took a quick potty break in the beginning of that game. I was only gone for maybe 2 minutes.
They're
I
probably
came
at
back
30.
and it was like, what just happened? I was like, there's no point in even watching the rest of this. And then I went to sleep.
That was them reminding the world that they are the best team in the league right now.
And that's the thing too, is like it's not like the Nuggets are like a pushover. They're a pretty solid team. They handedly took on the Lakers. They still got the bulk of their championship roster, so they haven't lost a lot of pieces. So that was a real big statement from OKC, and especially because in this Western Conference, it had a lot of the games haven't been offensively led games. It's been a lot of defense out of the Western Conference right now.
That game was led by their offense.
Yeah, and that's the scary part is OKC, not only can they do that offensively, they are one of, if not the best defensive team in the league. So that's a scary combination to have.
Supercat just put this in the chat. Potty break?
Yeah, quick potty break.
Yeah, potty break.
Had to go to the urination station.
Okay. There we go. Yeah, just thought we needed to loop back to that.
Oh, yeah. So we could talk about real quick this Pickens trade. I know it was a couple days ago now, but what I thought was very interesting about it was this is the first year that I've ever seen Cowboys fans not overly excited. You know, it seems like every year the staple of the NFL is you're going to have all the Cowboys fans say, this is our year, this is our year.
Right.
The comments section.
They win the offseason.
Yeah, in the comments section on Instagram was the complete opposite on all the posts I saw regarding Pickens and CeeDee Lamb being a combo. It was very interesting that the Cowboys fans, I feel like, have finally given up hope. And honestly, this might be like the most hopeful team they've had in a while, too. Like, their offense is better than it's been, in my opinion, the last couple of years now. I mean, you don't have a staple running back, but as we've seen, although a staple running back can put you over the hump, a lot of teams are finding success without that number 1, number 2 back in the league.
Yeah, I mean, that's if Pickens is not just a total nutball this year, like him and CD is, that's a hell of a tandem right there, as long as Dak is healthy.
An interesting thing that I saw earlier this morning, too, on the Twitter sphere, the X.com, if you will, was a picture of all of the wide receivers that the Steelers have drafted the last 20 years and their drop-off in production once they leave the Steelers.
Like I saw some Instagram thing yesterday of like, it was, one of those, one guy's talking to himself, playing different parts, whatever it was, about the trade going down. And like the Cowboys were like, wait a minute, are you trying to fleece us? Every time you trade a wide receiver, like they immediately go, they're like, no, that's not what's happening. It's Antonio Brown, it's Deontay Johnson, it's
Chase Claypool.
Chase Claypool.
That's a top 3 wide receiver in the league.
Yeah, there's
according to him.
Was there a fourth one?
You got Martavis Bryant.
Is Pickens the fourth one?
Yeah, it would be Pickens.
Yeah.
Juju Smith-Schuster, did you say that?
No.
I mean,
they draft all these wideouts, they all go crazy, they let them go, or they trade them, and then they're like, not one of them has gone on to do anything of note elsewhere.
Including Antonio Brown, who is considered by many a top 5 to top 10 wide receiver of all time, too.
Antonio Brown went on to have an epic appearance on Hard Knocks.
You want to know what's good for AB? That dude lost his mind, but he still was averaging 70 yards per game on both teams both teams. Pretty much just the Patriots, I guess, because he didn't really actually play for the Raiders. He was just on the roster.
He attended part of training camp.
But yeah, the interesting thing is with every wide receiver they've drafted in the last 20 years, every single one has 20 yards or more less receiving yards per game than they had with the Steelers. And the worst one being Chase Claypool, who, when he made the claim that he was a top 3 wide receiver in the league, less than a month later got traded, and he went from averaging 52 yards with the Steelers to 11.
Is that bad?
Very bad.
That sounds bad.
That's almost 40 yards less.
And 11 is just not enough yards to care about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's top 3.
And that's only a first down if you get all the 11 at once.
That is very true.
If you get it in any other combination, what have you done?
I mean, unless it's in one drive.
It's still just
I guess
1
it would
point.
have to be back-to-back.
I'm like, what have you done? All right, there we are. The Steelers getting rid of. They still don't have anybody to throw them the ball.
Yeah,
either. So
that's
oh
scary.
man. All right, we'll take a break. What's on tap after this? Here in this hour, brought to you by DVOffers.com on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. Utica.
Woo!
A
Yeah, but
silverback gorilla versus the Oklahoma City Thunder.
I mean, they're a young, athletic, stout group.
Yeah, I'd say last night I'm taking the Thunder.
If I had to pick any team, it would probably be OKC in that.
Yeah.
The East this weekend, or this week I should say, got way more interesting. I have no idea what's going to happen. Now, I still believe the Celtics can win. It's a
Got
7-game
more interesting,
series.
but worse, probably.
Yeah.
Worse
I think everybody...
in at least ability to compete for the title.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think everybody who doesn't hate the Cavs or Celtics kind of wanted them there because who else from the East is going to take OKC down?
Yeah, it's like the East got more interesting. The finals may have gotten less interesting.
Yes, I agree with that.
Jordan is loading Tim Leonard's Twitter for me.
Now, if the Knicks can work some magic and somehow steal a title, that would be very interesting.
The Syracuse women's basketball team has gotten somebody from Texas, Layla Filia. Michigan, Texas. Injuries last year. Those are like some, like, look at her, like, modern Vive rec spec she's doing here, though. Did you see this, Mike?
No. What?
She's got like a modern Vive rec spec. I kind of digging it.
I wore those goggles for one, like, sports season when I
Like
was in
this?
middle school.
Were yours hip like this, or are you doing old school rec specs?
I think it looks like...
Like these feel like they got a little modern-y twist
It
to
looked
it.
like it was an in-betweener
All
for
right.
me. Because they were still, like, the
Foggy?
goggles.
Very foggy?
Yeah, they were the worst. They were still were like the goggles, but they were definitely like a 2010 type of goggle.
Like she feels like she's rocking a 2025 frame right
yeah,
here.
like that. Those look like they don't fog up.
No.
Mine did.
Yeah.
I wore them for probably a month, and then I was talking to my parents, and I was like, "Listen, I'm wearing the glasses, man." I was like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll get contacts, but I'm not wearing these anymore.
No, I always wore my
And that's why I got contacts.
Yeah.
And then I wore them for like 4 years, and then stopped.
Because as you can see right now, you're not wearing
I have
contacts
been thinking
currently.
about pulling the contacts out again, though.
Yeah.
Ordering some more. But I also need to get new glasses. I just got new insurance like 3 weeks ago, so I've really just been hitting all the stops. Dentist, health. I got my blood drawn last week to make sure I didn't have any sicknesses. I have a high white blood count.
That's because you were sick that week.
Because I was sick. And I have low vitamin D. So
They actually made sure that week you were sick.
Yeah.
They did the opposite.
Yeah, the test was for like everything, but there was like all sicknesses. But I was like, what can you test for?
Yeah,
I was like,
just give me all of them. How much blood of mine do you want?
I found out I don't have diabetes.
That's great.
It was funny too because she's like, "Are you a fainter?" And I was like, "I've never fainted, but I'm gonna be honest. Most of the time, I feel like I'm going to." So she was like, "All right, just lay down then." And then
did you get a cookie?
No, but she starts talking to me, and it's very clear she's trying to keep me distracted. So she asked me a question, and in my mind, I'm like, I'm just going to give her the longest-winded answer I can because that's clearly what she wants from me. And then at the end of it, she mentions how I talk a lot. And I'm like, lady, I'm only talking because I clearly understood you want. Now, granted, I do talk a lot, but like circumstantial, not that. That one wasn't my fault. You know what I mean? I was like, you set me up for that, okay? That's like asking somebody to pitch and then being like, hey, you're a really good pitcher. Like, yeah, because I only pitched for you. Bad example, but you get where I'm going for.
You do talk a lot.
Yeah, I do. I do talk a lot. I don't have a very good filter. If I think of it.
Could they have tested for that?
No. But you know what the thing is, though, is like, I do get told I talk a lot, and I do. I know I do. But you guys don't understand how many thoughts I actually suppress throughout the day. Like, there's so many things I think to ask you guys that I'm like, I'm not going to do it.
It's a wonder the ones that haven't gotten through the filter, what those must have been like.
Right? I swear, I'm not that bad, you know? There's a lot going on in this brain, and a lot of it doesn't make sense, and some of it does.
Wonder when we're to get to that part of it.
All right, I'm leaving. Did you already tell me you're on the pod?
125.
Okay. Later, skater.
all across CNY. It's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
Back at it here on a it's Thursday. Do we have time for this? Yeah. Portal breaking news. Women's basketball version. Tim Leonard on Twitter says, huge pickup for Cuse women's basketball. Syracuse has gotten Layla Felia from Texas. Will be her third stop. Was hurt most of last year, but the 6-foot senior averaged 17 points a game at Michigan the year before. So an offensive threat for Felicia Leggett-Jack, assuming health for Layla joining the squad next year. The portal always comes through with something.
Here's what's on tap tonight.
Oh, what do we got on tap tonight? Speaking of Tim Leonard, wow, what a transition. He'll be with Gary Gate for the Lacrosse Coaches Show tonight. Shaughnessy, 7 o'clock over on TK99, getting you ready for Cuse and Harvard on Sunday. Imagine there'll be some women's lax talk as well as they get set to take on Brown in the first round of the tournament tomorrow. NBA, NHL tonight. Warriors-Wolves, Game 2, 8:30 TNT. No Steph Curry tonight. Dubs lead that series 1-0. 2 Game 2s in the NHL tonight. Hurricanes and Capitals, 7 o'clock ESPN. Canes lead that series 1-0. Oilers, Golden Knights follow that at 9:30. Edmonton and Connor McDavid lead that series 1-0 as well. Tomorrow on the program, What's on Tap? It's a Friday. We'll do some Friday stuff. We'll have Mario Sacco. We'll get the six-pack. We'll hear from the man who sort of knows. And our final lax guest of the week. Get you ready for Cuse and Harvard this Sunday. We'll be joined by Owen Hiltz, who had himself one heck of an ACC tournament and looks back to form after being hampered by injury for a few weeks prior. All of that on tap on the program tomorrow. With that, have a good night, everybody. We're back here 4 o'clock on a Friday. It's Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Radio.